Good morning, welcome to a morning review. This is Kim Watson speaking on Monday, the 22nd of February. So, looking at the euro dollar first, and euro has been last week mostly dropping down, resetting back to that 110.50 sort of zone. Could continue in that route. I do have the weekly pivot just above us at 111.48. So if we do see any breaks of this sort of move downwards, I'd expect it to move towards that. However, it's looking weak at the moment, and we could see a bit of a continuation to the downside there. As I say, back to retest some of the key levels below us, the 200, maybe in the 34 and the 50. So the 50 would bring us right back into that sort of previous area of supply, and which may provide some support on this occasion. So just watching for that if it does start breaking down over the next day or so. Looking from a 60-minute point of view, and well, it's Friday made a real mess of things. I've noticed there's a slight gap over the Asian session there on the euro dollar. There's a big gap on cable, but it's a slight gap that's unfilled, which well, we may see that filled if we do head back up south. But for me, I can't really, sorry, up north even, I can't really be looking at that sort of trade for up this sort of level until I see a break of this trend line. So it'd be a patient wait unless I see a decent reversal at some point. But I'd rather that be sooner rather than later, because the further away, the less the odds of it going quite so far. Although we've seen so much chop of late, these markets are not quite so clear to read. But if you look at the prior highs here, we notice we just pipping lower highs, and in the main lower lows, although there are some that are coming in which are probably arguably marginally higher at times, but the highs aren't meeting with them. So in the main, the trend has got to be still to the downside. Friday's mess may just be with these sort of spiky candles and this pattern, and may just be a sign that we could be just bobbing back up a little bit. It was a sort of a hammery bar from a daily perspective, so it's a possibility anyway. But watching carefully, really at the moment, any sort of retrace may give us a little bit of a sell-off back down towards the prior demand level here, which well, it's quite variable really. I mean, it's sitting between 108.30 sort of area and 110.700 sort of line. So it's quite a big area there. If it starts heading back, well, could it certainly get down towards that S1. Right, pound dollar. So Friday did pretty well, closing towards the highs there on the expectation there would be a decent agreement in Europe, and which Cameron came away with and offered to his party. But it would appear that at least one made a very public statement last night, and the subsequent, or yesterday afternoon, and we've seen it a very large gap in the market. Now, some people point this at Moody's have already said they'd reverse UK credit or revise UK credit ratings to negative if UK leaves the or the referendum is in favour of a Brexit. Well, it's a bit ironic, really, that all of a sudden Moody's can actually look to see something which nobody actually knows what the outcome would be, yet they can't get a bundle of rubbish which they were AAA rating for all the banks on these ninja loans that happened in 2008. So the irony of a company or an organisation like that coming out saying something which where they knew that they had bad debt in bundles compared to something they don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I'll get off my orange box for that one. But for now, we've got a big gap. Now, if we see any reversals here, which is a possibility, although you may think the possibility is a bit lower, bearing in mind the news. But if we see any reversals, there's a decent gap to fill. And we've got some sort of upside targets, daily pivot, monthly pivots, weekly pivots up above us there. So there are some opportunities to the upside. Maybe I was looking at a break of the trend originally I was thinking of, but may need to wait for these 21s to be taken out. Otherwise, we're just going to stop into each one of them on the way. and get sort of congested. There's a real congestion zone around that sort of area, halfway probably in the point of filling the gap, let alone getting back to the close from Friday. So we'll see how we go from here. But at the moment, I think it's you just got to wait with cable, but probably let it take its course, see what happens, and maybe some short opportunities. Dollar yen, well, it's been strengthening again last week. Got into a picture Friday, slight reversal, sort of almost a bullish harami sort of price. We have got the above us, we've got the weekly pivot, which maybe get hit or be hit rather soon rather than later by looks of things, potentially anyway. The pattern, intermediate pattern, certainly is a downward trend at the moment. And in fact, when you come back to the dailies, of course, it's a downward trend, and you're just sort of seeing this downward trend. So really, certainly on a short term, there's an opportunity for the upside, but we just would have to watch that 50 MA, etc. But there is some possibility of some further of a further move to the upside. Okay, Aussie dollar. Let's take us a quick flick through there. Very choppy still, real big choppy days, and we sort of on Friday we managed to get back into that range I talked about, probably in the room on Friday and nowhere else. But on Thursday I may have been talking about it anyway. But this sort of range where we're seeing plenty of supply, or had been seeing plenty of supply for quite some time. It looks like it may be just edging off that again at the moment, but when you come down to the hourlies, ignore that trend line. It's not bouncing off that because I drew it to the bottom of it, so it's only stays relevant if it stays there after 8 o'clock. But it's at the moment it's looking like, well, perhaps it's having another push up there. If it finishes up with a hammer, well, it could push on towards its daily R1 and maybe beyond. Few targets below though, if it does start breaking the trend line I have now drawn there. Of course, we've got the 21s in the way, so we've got some mess in the way, but we've got the weekly pivot and daily pivot below us, so there are some opportunities if it starts breaking down. But for now, gaining a bit of strength. Okay, Canadian dollar. I always expect this to be again a bit stronger than it actually is, but it's shown a bit of weakness of the US dollar effectively again here, as Friday managed to get a little bit of a gain, but it's put that shooting star back into the upper bands, and you just think, well, is it going to roll over again? It's already hit the weekly pivot, and well, it's looking a bit of a mess on the hourlies in a sense. It was setting in a series of higher lows and higher highs and running off there, and then it's just broken the that trend properly with a lower high and a lower low. It's not totally clear what it's doing here. Maybe if it can go beyond again the clump of moving averages and around and pivots, etc., daily pivot, weekly pivot, all sitting there together. So if it can get back above that, well, it could take another chance up to the 200 and maybe beyond. But it's suddenly looking a little bit bearish again. And let's have a quick look at oil. There's a big gap on here, which is non-existent actually on the other charts. It may just be my feed, but it certainly had a little bit of a surge back up to that 32.50 sort of area through the Asian session. So made a bit of a gain, but realistically, it's almost into that 50 now. It could just peel off from there, which could cause a bit of a retrace. But on this sort of news, you'd have expected the Canadian dollar to be getting stronger, and it's in fact during that bar, it's not really done too much at all. So there's not a lot of belief in that oil price, certainly one way or the other. Okay, that's pretty much it for me this morning. News-wise, there's not a significant amount. We've got the French PMI figures coming out at 8, followed by the French services, with that at the same time at 8 o'clock, and at 8:30 we've got the German figures, manufacturing PMI and services PMI, and then later on at 9 we've got the whole of Europe. Now, obviously the French and German are the more powerhouses in mainland Europe, and They do sometimes get a bit of a kicker, but nothing. It's been a long time since we've really seen anything significant come from them, but they can create volatility, and certainly blips in the market there. So something to watch out at 8:30, 9 o'clock time. Okay, that's it for me. Hope you have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.